Here we are, March 14th, 10:45 a.m., ready to take off on our trip to Greece and say goodbye to Yaya. Off we go on our Turkish airliner, huge plane, delicious food, wonderful trip to Turkey. We woke up a little late and jet lagged in the Acropolis Hotel. This looks like a fake picture, and so does this one, but that's really the Acropolis in the background. We purchased these tickets the night before and we're ready to go to the Acropolis the next day. Here's a picture, a panoramic view from our rooftop at the hotel at the Acropolis, looking out over the city of Athens. It's actually a really pleasant March morning.
The air is about 70 degrees. It's cool and nice. What a view.
It was only a short walk from our hotel down to the Acropolis Museum. And take a look at this. We're walking on a glass floor, and the museum is built over ruins. You can look below and you can see structures and parts of the Acropolis from thousands of years ago. It is a beautiful museum. I believe it was funded by the UNESCO um, organization and just had so many things. Beautiful, beautiful stuff to see. This map shows our wonderful location, the Acropolis, the museum, our hotel, and car rental all in one spot. We went over to a church the night we arrived, and it was Mom's birthday, and we lit some candles for her and went off to eat our delicious first meal in Athens, Greece. There were cats everywhere. You couldn't believe it. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing a bunch of cats. These are actual pictures taken of the Acropolis at night and the next morning. And then we were just shocked to see this breakfast. It was laid out all over the place. This was just half of it. Now, this is up in the Acropolis, and these are just random shots I took. This looks very crowded, but I understand in the summer you just kind of can't even hardly get up here. So we have a nice day, nice clear skies. Alex and I are walking around enjoying the top of the Acropolis and seeing things that we'd only seen in pictures before. Needless to say, it was a wonderful time for dad and son together. We went all over the place. Bright sunny day, good views, and the Acropolis has been under construction forever, it seems like. It's been falling apart, but it has been standing through eons of time. So we have to remember that just the fact that it's standing up is a miracle in itself. So as we go along here, pretty soon we're going to head down, walk down the Acropolis. All of this is within walking distance of our hotel, so that's really nice. You can see a haze is setting over the city here. It's probably around noon, and I understand in the summertime it can get very smoggy in Athens. And this is a small amphitheater that was down at the base of the Acropolis. And looking across here, we can almost see the rooftop of our hotel. We stayed in the Acropolis Inn Hotel, and I would recommend it highly to anyone that travels there. Now we're in the streets, and this picture was taken because of the orange trees that are growing around. And unfortunately, I think we donated our idea of graffiti to Athens because they've got it all over. This was a street fair that was really amazing. Reminded me like something you might see in Morocco. And there's our kitty cat. This guy's on top of a roof. And in the evening, we're eating here. And now we've moved to Corinth, Greece, about an hour and a half drive. And outside the meat shop here, the Hasapiko, we see a bunch of cats. And this is our hotel at sunset on our second night in Greece. And we spent 2 nights here in Corinth. Just amazing. We're going to go to the top of that mountain too. And you can see this is the breakfast the owner put out for us. And just walking down the streets, it's just amazing. This is a church that was broadcasting its service over speakers. And it was amazing to see people walking in this small area of ancient Corinth to church and then looking over the wall, and guess who was there on the other side of the wall? St. Paul preached and defended himself right there. And I thought, wow, it would be amazing to read from the book of Corinthians in church that Sunday and look over the wall and see where it was done. Look at these buildings. Some of them are just old buildings. We saw something that looked like California poppies there, but they were red. And now we're going up near the castle above Corinth. And this was beautiful, but at the same time a little treacherous because people have walked over these cobblestones, which were about the size of large melons, and they had walked over them for so long that they were super slick, polished by shoes. And you can see this, and I'm still recovering from a broken ankle here, so I'm very aware and using walking sticks to get up there. And you can see as we go up closer to the top, some of these entries had little holes for them to shoot arrows out of and to defend the place. And it seems to be a pattern as we went around in Greece that there were castles way up high on these hills that where you could see for miles and miles, and they knew when someone was coming and attacking. You could probably see 30 miles there. And these are more shots taken from Corinth Castle above Corinth. Now these are the ruins of ancient Corinth, and in a moment you're going to see a spot. There's the Greek church in the background, Greek Orthodox Church, and these are the spots where, right up there is where the Apostle Paul stood, right where Alex is, and defended himself. Having been a lawyer, he was able to defend himself easily there. So you can walk around in here. Now we're going to eat, and the kitty cats are visiting us again and having a little bit of ouzo to top off the night. I took this picture. It's a guy's backyard, and you can see there's ruins he was digging up in his backyard. And another shot from our hotel. This is Monday morning, waking up in Corinth, getting ready to go. Great night's sleep. And we're off today to Mistra, which is about a 3-hour drive, and on the way we're going to stop near the origin of the Mycenaean culture. As you see, it's a really beautiful day. I'm sitting outside here at about 8 a.m. and the temperature is just perfect. Here we have a little bit of the countryside on the way to Mycene. Just acres and acres of olive trees. And now we're at the head of the Mycenaean culture. And again, we're on the top of a hill and we're looking out over a long expanse all the way to the ocean. So these guys could see enemy coming for miles and miles. And it's perched up on a hill, and a good portion of it is a steep drop off the sides, so they don't even have to defend that part of the hill. And as we go along, you can see the blocks are just enormous that were used here. And we're going to the very famous Lion's Gate now. And as we approach the Lion's Gate, you will see what was like the lintel to the door. Now take a look at the size of those blocks and think about the poor slaves that had to lift them up there. Here's the Lion's Gate itself. You can see the lions carved in there. And Alex and I standing in front of it. There's a better view right there. This is March 15th, and look at the weather. It's just gorgeous. And the wildflowers were erupting all over the place. I imagine in August this would not look the way at all it looks right now. But take a look at these flowers. It looked like they, were just planted by some gardener, but they were growing everywhere. Off in the distance, you can see, so far you could see right into the Mediterranean Sea. And you can see how this would be a great place to defend. If you look at their artwork, you could see that this is an earlier time, but they still were making crowns of gold, daggers, and all those good things. This is an example of the interior of a little chapel that was just sitting along the road, and they are everywhere. And some samples of food. We love these dishes. Alex had this fish, and I had a little piece of octopus.
So this is my sea bream that I was eating. And this is another interested party.
This guy is a cheap buy off, a little chunk of fish, and he's your friend for the duration. If you ignore him, he will just very patiently put his paw with a little bit of claws into your side.
Just a little tap tap.
Tap, tap.
Now, the city of Nafplio was just beautiful. It looked like kind of a resort town, and if you notice, the streets are just empty. Finally, I asked someone, "Where is everyone?" And they said, "It's nap time. Everyone sleeps in the afternoon and the shops close." So that's what's going on here. Really pretty place. We also found a small church there with a very large chandelier. And these were some of our favorite oregano chips. Here's just a picture of Alex looking out over the countryside. And we're heading towards Maestra along the road. Again, just beautiful day, beautiful skies, and kind of rolling hills. This is an ancient olive grove. I can't even imagine how old these trees are, but it looks like they just keep growing. And this is where we stayed. And it was just a really nice place. They had wonderful home cooked food here and some Greek beer for Alex. And we had these great big, huge beans. And I had a pork roast, which was delicious. And I never ordered pork roast. And Alex had these meatballs. Here's a little look at the building. It was all built out of stone, and nothing was spared in the construction of this. It was just impeccable. More wildflowers as we head up to the ruins of Mistra. And this was a city that was abandoned about 500 years ago, and it had been almost like a capital of the area. And you could go into these little chapels and churches there and look at the paintings on the wall that have been there for centuries. Now we're looking down again over the valley. You'll notice a pattern. We're up really high on a hill again. Now that's a monastery that is functional, and we couldn't go in there obviously, but you can see again, you can defend this place well because you can see down the valley all the way to the ocean. This looks like an older church or monastery, and some more wildflowers to take a look at. We wandered around in this ancient little city for probably about 2 hours. It was gorgeous. That's the modern monastery and some of the ruins. This was sacked by the Turkish uh, Ottoman warriors long, long ago. And it's kind of sad to think that when you look at some of these churches, they had signs that said that the Christians probably ended up in the churches praying and were still slaughtered by the Ottomans as they took over this area. It's very lush greenery around it. I imagine the clouds came up from the ocean and they dump on this hillside, but it was, and this is a national, international um, cultural heritage location. Sorry, I had trouble getting that out. So if you look it up, you'll see more information about it if you'd like to. Now, some of these paintings have been lost over the centuries, but they did a good job of restoring things. And it was interesting that the camera, my iPhone camera, was able to pick up pictures and pull out more color than the naked eye could. There's that red poppy again. So you can see it just looks like it's been landscaped with this beautiful proliferation of flowers. There we go with another church picture. And now we're off to Coroni. This is the hometown. My grandparents and Alex's great grandparents, and we stayed in a really nice place. Alex was up in the loft there, and I was down below, and we had this for 2 nights. And this is an old structure across the street. These were built about 150 years ago. And this looked like it was about 4,000 square feet. And they said it was about $200,000 to purchase that. And sadly, it looked like Germans and Scandinavians were coming in and buying up this town and refurbishing the buildings, which was good for the town. But the local people were getting edged out of a possibility to own their own place at the same time. There's another shot of our room and a shot from the outside. And they had a little Tarvina along the side there. Now, this is where the Fotonakis family was from. They were fishermen in this small town. And I took that picture because there really is a dish called chica cheek. And these are those big beans, delicious, and just some common streets in the city. Some of these buildings look like they could be 500 years old, but they'll be reconstructed sooner or later. Then there's our local cat. There he is again, dirty nose. I don't know why, but about 1 in 5 cats were calico, which is odd because calicos in the United States are pretty rare. Another dish, fish this time. Now, this is an ancient picture of the shore break, and this is what it looks like today. And guess what? Here's the first, second, or distant cousin we found, and there's the second cousin. They were all fishermen. This is another one here, and if you're able to look at this man's jacket, you could see our name on it. And this is the corporation that they formed, and they're fishermen in this town. And we ended up finding, let's see, one, two, three, four, I think 5 of them, and just different random pictures from the city of Coroni. They'll have a beautiful fixed up place, and next to it, something that looks like it's going to fall over. At night, you could go out walking. We saw children walking around at 10 o'clock at night and look perfectly safe. And that's the building we stayed in. I think it was only like $79 a night. Sunset from Coroni, and another kitty cat. Now we're going to go up to the Coroni Castle, and there's also, this guy looks like he had a rough time. Oh, forgot, we're going to go into a sweet shop here and have some goodies. and they were getting ready for a holiday coming up. This is what it looked like 100 years ago when my grandparents were there. And these people actually knew the Fognacuses. Look at the holy cards around the cash register. You won't see that in the US. And the small, tiny streets that were built probably for donkey carts many years ago. And this is looking out at the same place where I met some of our relatives. Now we're just below the castle. We're going up to the castle. Alex said this was his favorite place in the whole trip because when we went up to the castle and monastery, not only was it beautiful, but it was super peaceful and had the most amazing religious gift shop.
His name is Flopodopoulos.
Uh-huh.
He
He's just a random cat, and he's friendlier than
all of our house
all
cats,
of our house cats.
whom we support with food and scoop their dukes every single day.
And here, little Vasilios,
He's
just sweet. We are walking through the castle at Corinth on a breezy, very nice, almost spring morning. And we'll come on down here. And this is a very old olive orchard. Grove. Gosh, how old must that gate be? This is a castle that has gone around and been taken over by Venetians, Franks, Ottomans, Greeks. Seems like because this is a high ground that everybody fought over it. Wow, look at that view coming out.
come over here.
Okay. Oh wow, take a look at that. We're now up on a castle point looking out over the Aegean and I think looking across there to the other peninsula across the way. Super beautiful here.
This was an incredible gift shop we went into that had like anything you could imagine. And there was one very old nun that was working there. She was pleasant to be with. She said she was 80 something years old and had been there since she was 17. We are at a monastery convent area on the top of the area where there's like a castle above Bologna. And if you listen to the birds, you look at the sky, it's amazing to think that we can actually be in a place this beautiful. Here's Alex up on the castle looking out over the beautiful ocean. He's doing a little sword fighting here. And we're just kind of walking through the ruins of this old castle. There is a nun mowing the lawn with an electric lawnmower down there. Now here's like a 360 view from up here in the castle, and you can see the coast goes that way. A lot of housing as you go up, and we're panning around, so we're kind of on a little spit that goes out in the ocean, and there's that Coroni Harbor where our cousins are working down there. Look at the color of that water coming back. So again, you can see great lookout for defense, but now there's a monastery here. It's strange to think that my grandparents left this beautiful area over 100 years ago to farm out in the middle of Nebraska. Yeah, I guess you need to have a job to eat. And these are just more views from inside Coroni. It's become, it looks like a little tourist town. Now we're jumping over to another town called Harakopio. I hope I said that right. And we've just entered the house of my grandmother on the other side of the family, which is really interesting. This was only 8 miles from Coroni. And they've turned what used to be a butcher shop here, and above this butcher shop, my grandmother and her brothers stayed. This was around, gosh, I'm thinking around 1910. You can pause this and look at this, but these are some logs of ships and coming over. We're eating, this lady made us just a wonderful dish. This was spinach and squid, and the squid melted in your mouth like pieces of butter, and some souflakia fries, and here's the cook. And she remembered stories about this having been a butcher shop. We're getting ready to take off now, bringing the luggage to the car. But before we go, we posed a couple of shots with the Volcano Burger mugs for our friends back at home. We went over to a sweet shop. Look at these thiplas. They're getting ready for a big holiday, and this was the brochure from the shop. I don't even know what these things are in these metal wrap, but I know what these things are. There's all kinds of baklava, kuluria, um, you name it, it was there. And we got a nice sample of a whole bunch of different things.
Driving down the street in Coronye, just a block away from the beach. And you can see these are old like hotels that were built about 150 years ago. We're somewhere here in Greece and we found this totally different ecosystem of trees that look like umbrella evergreens.
We're in an umbrella forest.
Yeah.
And there's water on both sides of the road.
Yeah, there's water on both sides of the road.
I think we're theoretically going to the beach.
We got this B&B out somewhere and we think maybe it's just on somebody's ranch trying to make some money.
So we went from crappy farmhouse to pretty nice hotel room with a desk and this fancy pants bathroom, tiny toilet, rain fixture.
Here's the sunset over the bay at Peloponnese. Now we're coming to St. Andrew's Church. Just a beautiful, beautiful cathedral. And inside it's dedicated to Andrew, the Apostle Andrew. And a lot of the murals depict his life and his crucifixion. Here he was crucified on an X-shaped cross. And these tell a story of how he was bound and taken and protected by people and helping him out. His skull is in another part. Can you tell what's going on here? Notice sticks of dynamite, Nazi soldiers, Nazi ship, St. Andrew helping sabotage to kill the Nazis. This kind of cracked me up being in a church and all. On our last day, we left Patras and we crossed this beautiful bridge that connected the Peloponnese Peninsula to mainland Greece. They built this during the Athens Olympics and really went into depth doing it. Now we're traveling along the southern coast of mainland Greece between the Peloponnese and the Greek mainland. Alex is doing the driving here, and we're heading for a huge monastery that we wanted to see on the way back. Stopping again. Look at that chunk of cheese, would you? Just, oh, I miss that food looking at it right now. Now we're here at this monastery way up at the top of a hill. It's a very old monastery. They had a fire that almost burned it down. You can see the trees are toasted right up to the edge of the wall. And as we walked along, we went into the monastery itself, and just really beautiful. Now, as we walk through this 6th century monastery, a lot of it has been rehabilitated. It's one of those World Heritage sites, and we're traveling on through here.
This is
And
from the 9th century, an ancient Byzantine monastery, way far up in the mountains, far away from anything. If you look up there, you can see there's paintings that are who knows how old.
now we're going inside parts of the monastery, and the artwork in here is amazing. These are very, very old paintings. Some of them are chipped away, but just looking at the symmetry and the artwork, credible. These are huge churches. It looks like you could have put several hundred people in them at a time. Really something to see. In theory, this was our plan to go from Patras to Athens, but in reality, it took about 8 or 9 hours. Here was a surprise gem for us coming in to our hotel way out in a farmland area, a little chapel, 1,000 years old. And they said it's just been sitting there and people come and pray in there. And it was sitting right out in the middle of this farm area. From there, we missed our flight and ended up here in Istanbul. I hope you can hear that chanting from the minarets in Istanbul, Turkey. Thank you for joining us on this trip across the Peloponnese Peninsula. Take care.